Tonight in Ebonyi State, where the death toll from an attack on 3 villages in Ishielu local government has reportedly risen to 15, with many residents still believed to be missing. The armed herdsmen stormed the community on Sunday, leaving destruction and death in the wake of the attack. Initial reports put the death toll at 10, but more bodies have since been discovered in the bush, bringing the total number of fatalities to at least 15, according to local officials. The attack has sparked widespread outrage and concern, with Deputy Governor Patricia Obila visiting the affected community to condemn the violence. She has given security agencies a 24-hour ultimatum to track down the perpetrators and bring them to justice. Ogun State High Court in Abeokuta has handed down a death sentence to 3 men, Lekon Adekombi, Ahmed Odetola, and Wahid Adeniyi, for the brutal murder of a family of 3 on New Year's Day in 2023. The victims, Kehinde and Bukola Fatinoye, and their son, Oreoluwa, were attacked and killed by the driver, Lekon Adekombi, and his accomplices at their home in Abeokuta. The couple, who worked at the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Federal University of Agriculture, had just returned from a crossover service to ring in the new year when the tragedy occurred. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Adeolu Egbetokun, says he's worried about what he calls the, quote, unwarranted and unethical practice of transferring ongoing cases and the misuse of public offices by certain public officials and, of course, his officers too. The IGP has vowed to penalize any police officer found misusing their position of authority to transfer case files without due process or just cause. He adds that such practices undermine investigations and diminish public confidence in the police. And joining me now from Lagos is Barrister Malaki Ugumadu, a human rights lawyer and former president of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights. Thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm delighted to be here. Good evening, George.
What do you think the IGP was referring to when he said, quote, unwarranted and unethical practice of transferring ongoing cases?
Well, again, thank you for having me. I think, given the release that we have all read from the police public relation officer, it is evidently clear that the IGA of police is referencing the practice, if you like, the unholy practice of transferring cases from one division or formation of the police force to another during investigation. What is not very clear to some of us is that that admonition had been given in the past. Some of us are aware, perhaps not under this particular Inspector General of Police, that that directive had been given in the past. In fact, on many occasions, as a practicing lawyer who has multiple reasons to interface with the police at every division and formation up to the headquarters, I'm aware that this is a standing order. The fact that it is now being re-emphasized and reiterated goes to the issue of the inability of the force to put a definitive end to this. The IG clearly has been clear. I mean, it's quite succinct and clear about what he means. He puts it directly. The communication was effective. What is not very clear is why it has persisted, even in spite of that directive. And this is quite consistent with what we are now used to.
Do you then think that this warning, is really for his police officers in the IGP's rank and file, or is he actually referring to perhaps some public officials allegedly patronizing these officers?
No, I think that question is important because it goes to characterize what has happened. And I'm speaking not just as a Nigerian, but as a practicing lawyer who, on many occasions, like I said, have had cause to deal with these people. here is the point. A matter is brought to a particular formation of the Nigerian Police Force, say area command. It could be that the matter is well within the criminal capacity of the Nigerian police to invoke their powers to intervene. The investigation ensues, but before you know it, there are calls from all parts of the country. In fact, most times, even outside the police force, prevailing on that particular police formation, particularly when it is below the rank of the IG, to either suspend or release the suspect. Where that doesn't happen, they take the next line of action, which is to transfer, and these things are done arbitrarily. But please make no mistake about it, and let me be very clear about this. It is not a one-way traffic. It is not just about those who move the cases away from formations to other divisions. It is also about some of the cases you bring directly to the Inspector General's office. I'm talking about the force headquarters. They also, in the operation of the Nigerian police, they also transfer some of these matters. So it's a double-edged sword. You have noticed that there are a lot of influence peddling around a particular jurisdiction. You realize that Nigeria has become a center for influence peddling. And in fact, perpetrators of crime will even boast to the victims that nothing will happen. In that circumstance, you take away that matter, you petition in the first instance, maybe to the AIG's office or the Inspector General of Police.
I say about the independence of the Nigerian police force.
Say that again.
So what does that say about the independence of the Nigerian police force, the Nigeria police force?
It describes in graphic manner the poverty of the situation. And it's not just about the independence and impartiality of the Nigerian police force. It also goes to the problem of real federalism as we canvass it. Federalism recognizes the juxtaposition of powers at different tiers of government. It mustn't be at the level of IG alone. Power must devolve. And when I say power, I'm also talking about the cohesive power of the country. The police enjoy the first line chart of security law enforcement in the country. So if directives and operations of the police can be that easily manipulated, then that poses a serious security crisis, or at least problem, much more beyond the independence and credibility of the Nigerian police. So here's my point. It is good to emphasize this point.
Right.
But it is not a one-edged sword. It is a double-edged sword. And how do I mean? Where it has become clear that the Nigerian police force, as presently constituted, has largely become transactional. Mark my word, transactional. In the sense that whoever has sufficient funds to dispense gets the kind of relief and justice, in quote, in any police formation.
Malaki, let me just come in here. Let me come in here quickly, because we know that there are still some very decent police officers out there. But from a legal perspective, what are the potential consequences for officers found to be misusing their public offices, and how might this affect their careers or future prospects?
I would think that the Nigerian police force, in their operations and dealings, should, intensify their internal control mechanisms. The Nigerian police force has a very robust disciplinary processes. And the IG would be better off if he puts in practice some of those discrete monitoring procedures and mechanisms by which he checks the abuse of power and the misuse of power. That's what is an issue. So if somebody has found out very creditably and comes to the conclusion that his or her case is suffering in a particular police formation on account of the influence of other money bags of very funny people around, he reserves the right as a Nigerian to seek the transfer of that case from that particular police formation.
Right.
Where he gets no help. That should be the most credible thing to do. But when you now issue a blanket on such, without a corresponding check on the menace itself, then you have left many a Nigerian in a cul-de-sac.
Right, Malaki. Basically, you're saying there should be monitoring procedures and mechanisms, and there should be a check and balance in the abuse of power. Clearly, there must be consequences for bad behavior. Malaki Gumadu, human rights lawyer, thank you so much for your thoughts tonight.
A pleasure.
Aisha Ismail, a young woman who was displaced by the Boko Haram insurgency in Bama, Borno State, has become a symbol of resilience and determination in her community. Aisha's story could have been one of despair after losing her home and the life she once knew. Instead, she chose a different path, one of empowerment and self-reliance. News Central's Umaru Kirawa has been following her story and now reports.
Aisha Ismail, a survivor of years of insurgency, is rewriting her story. Displaced from Bama local government area, a former hotbed of terrorist activities, Aisha made the bold decision to embrace vocational training and become an aluminium artisan.
Daga Bama ne na dawo muka zo har nan wajen muka yi gudun hijira muka zo nan wajen bolorin nan muna zaune har zuwa lokacin da ya kawo na zo nan wajen malam sai muka zo aka dauke sunan mu aka dauke mu ana koya mana sana'a kuma gashi sana'an gaskiya yana da kyau dai kuma za mu iya cin abinci a shi yanzu mun koya ma za mu iya bude shago ma na kanmu za mu iya yi mu koya wani shi ma da zai samu ya ci a tsakanin.
Aisha's transformation underscores the importance of investing in post-insurgency recovery programs that equip young people with the skills and training to rebuild their lives.
A delegation
from the European Union visits Borno State to assess regional stabilization initiatives aimed at strengthening support for victims of insurgency.
These centers are really somehow lighthouses for whole Nigeria, and of course it's also for women and girls very important to get an education, vocational education here.
And this is something also we are very much experienced in Europe about, especially in Germany, and our German colleagues are accompanying us in this mission. We've been reviewing our portfolio of projects in humanitarian assistance and above all in development cooperation in many areas. Borno State has been and will remain a key priority area.
Of this institute is really impressive, and we were happy in case we are invited to have a closer look and see whether we can expand programs also to this part of Nigeria. I think it's very promising, and Maiduguri has all the infrastructural assets needed for that.
The European Union delegation pledged continued support to accelerate post-insurgency recovery in Nigeria's northeast. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
The Special Offences Court sitting in Ikeja, Lagos, has acquitted and discharged a former Minister of Aviation, Femi Fani-Kayode, of the charge of medical forgery leveled against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Justice Olubunmi Abike-Fadipe, who freed the former minister while delivering ruling on the no-case submission filed by his counsel, held that the prosecution failed to establish a prima facie case against him. The court upheld the no-case submission filed by his counsel, Norrisin Quaker, and ruled that Fani-Kayode had no case to answer, as the EFCC did not link him to the offense. The former Director General of the Nigeria Center for Diseases Control, Chikwe Ihekwezu, has been appointed as the acting regional director of the World Health Organization in Africa. He was appointed on Tuesday at the ongoing 156th session of the WHO Executive Board in Geneva, Switzerland. Announcing the appointment, Tedros Ghebreyesus, the WHO Director General, expressed confidence that Africa will be in capable hands for the next 4 months. The new regional director for Africa is set to be elected in May 2025. The former NCDC DG takes over from Macedo Moeti, who has finished her term.
I'm pleased that the Regional Committee for Africa has decided to nominate a new regional director as soon as possible, and I look forward to working with whomever they choose. And I'm pleased to announce that I have appointed Dr. Chikwe Ihekwezu as acting regional director until the new regional director is nominated and appointed by the Executive Board following the World Health Assembly. Chikwe joined WHO in 2021 and is currently the Assistant Director General and Deputy Executive Director of the WHO Health Emergency Preparedness and Response Program in Geneva. Prior to joining WHO, he was the first Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. I'm confident that for the next 4 months, the region is in very capable hands, just as it has been for the past 10 years. My sister Shidi, we all owe you an immense debt of gratitude for everything you have done, but also for who you are. Thank you for your example you have set and the legacy you have left. You believe that the people of Africa deserve nothing but your best, and that's what you have given for the past 10 years. I also look forward to continuing to work with you in whatever you decide to do next. As we say, once WHO, always.
So a big congratulations to Mr. Chikwe Ihekwezu. As part of the commemoration of the 2025 World Cancer Day, the Kano State government says that it will henceforth provide free cervical and breast cancer screening to about 1,000 women across the 44 local government areas of the state every year. This state officials say it will help prevent cases of breast and cervical cancer, protecting the lives of women in the state. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
It's a busy day at the Muhammadu Buhari Specialist Hospital, Gigin in Kano, as the state government offers free cervical and breast cancer screening to mark the World Cancer Day.
His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kano State, has launched a free breast and cervical cancer screening for about 1,000 women across the 44 local government of Kano State. Precisely, we have selected 880 women, 20 each from the 44 local governments, but we are having more numbers. That is why I'm rounding it up to about 1,000 or more. We don't know how far we'll go before the end of the program.
State officials here say that early detection of the disease will help protect women usually affected.
That we are going to screen especially women in Kano State, screen them for suspected cancers. Cancer of the breast, cancer of the cervix will be screened here. So we are going to screen about 1,200 altogether in Kano over the next 3 days. So this is why we are here and we are starting. We have seen some of the women that have been.
The World Cancer Day is expected to place people at the center of care, putting their stories at the heart of the conversation. In Kano for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
I have Dr. Ekanem Nseabasi with me, a global healthcare specialist. He joins me from Abuja. So my question with you was, how do you think Nigeria can address the disparities in cancer care and treatment?
Okay, I think for that to be achieved, first of all, I think the Nigerian government has done well so far because the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund right now covers cancer. And it covers the cascade of care for cancer in terms of diagnosis and even access to prevention of cancer. Of course, more needs to be done because even with the effort done so far by the government of Nigeria through the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, there's still that disparity, and we see a lot of people not having access to affordable care and treatment of cancer. I think there's need for both the government at the federal level and even at the local government level to actually demonstrate, that commitment. And I'm glad to say that the Kano State has actually done well in that regard. Lagos State has also done very well. I think there's need for an intersectoral collaboration. Cancer is a very, very highly preventable disease that can be, that can be cured if it is dictated on time. So it's important for the government to put down measures that will help to prevent, to help Nigerians to prevent even the occurrence of cancer. For example, there should be a mandatory screening for all children, all female above the age of 30 for both human papilloma virus and of course Pap smear, which is the gold standard for dictating cervical cancer. And also kudos to the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency through the support of Gavi. All female children right now have access to HPV vaccine, which helps significantly in the prevention of
Dr. Nsebasi, right. Let me quickly ask you this question. I'm looking at numbers now, and it does appear that there's been a rise in the past couple of years in the number of cancer diagnoses in Africa. What's driving that, and what can be done to minimize this?
Well, I must say that the increase in number is because there's increase in diagnosis. A couple of decades ago, diagnosis for cancer was something that was sort of alien in Nigeria. We know a number of cases, post-mortem cases that were found to be cancer cases, but never got diagnosed. So the fact that you're seeing the increase in the numbers currently is because there is increase in diagnosis, there's increase in awareness. So more people are more conscious about cancer, and they seek care, they seek the diagnosis, and they get to know about their status on time.
Finally, before I let you go, what is the best way to raise awareness? Since diagnosis is actually why we're seeing a rise in the number of cases, how do we raise awareness on time?
I think we need to raise awareness by, first of all, engaging young school pupils, because these are the ages where we can easily nip cancer in the bud. It should be mandatory that all school girls should have access to information about cancer. We need to empower CSOs, civil society organizations within the community, to raise awareness about cancer. We need to empower the media. The government needs to fund the media, the national orientation agencies, and all other relevant agencies that can help to promote the message of cancer awareness across the length and breadth of this country. So awareness is key, and we need to also ensure that we engage with the what we call the gatekeepers of the society, the traditional leaders and the religious leaders, to keep spreading the message of cancer in their churches, in their mosques, and in the community. If we do this, we'll be able to get more people aware, and as more people are aware, we'll be able to get more people to be screened early, and we'll get more people to be treated and cured of cancer.
The sticking points here, more awareness, and the churches and the mosques. Thank you so much, Dr. Ekane Nsebasi, a global healthcare specialist, for speaking to us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome back. President Bola Tinubu has signed a bill to establish a new federal agency, the North Central Development Commission, NCDC, into law. The NCDC is expected to promote and coordinate the development of the North Central region of the country. The agency will also provide support for infrastructure, agriculture, education, healthcare, and other sectors in Benue, Kogi, Kwara, Nasarawa, Niger, and Plateau states. With the passage of the NCDC bill into law, Nigeria now has 5 established regional development commissions catering for its different regions. That's the Niger Delta Development Commission, Northeast Development Commission, Northwest Development Commission, Southeast Development Commission, and the just passed North Central Development Commission.
Let me also inform our colleagues that Mr. President has also assented to the North Central Development Commission Establishment Bill 2024 in order to bring development to the grassroots. And for this, we congratulate the good people of the North Central region of Nigeria. And then we wish them more development, particularly peace, as we forge ahead in the task of nation building.
To the petroleum sector, ExxonMobil has commended President Tinubu for his commitment to increasing investment in Nigeria's deep water basin as part of efforts to grow the nation's oil and gas reserves. The outgoing president of the company made this known following a visit to President Bola Tinubu at the State House in Abuja. President Donald Trump has agreed to hold off imposing 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico for 30 days, pulling the North American neighbors back from the brink of a potential damaging trade war. After last-minute calls with Trump, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau agreed to reinforce his country's border with the U.S. to clamp down on migration and the flow of the deadly drug fentanyl. Earlier, Trump made a deal with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum.
Varias propuestas y finalmente pues llegamos al acuerdo que está en el acuerdo que se puso de poder poner más guardias nacionales en la frontera norte para proteger la frontera y evitar el tráfico de drogas y en particular el tráfico de fentanilo de México hacia Estados Unidos. Le planteé siempre que queríamos que pusiera en pausa las tarifas desde el primer momento, los aranceles. Entonces, en este caso llegamos a ese acuerdo, pero también le expliqué pues la gravedad de la cantidad de armas de alto poder que entran desde Estados Unidos a México y que estas armas de alto poder que llegan de manera ilegal pues arman a los grupos delictivos y que pues le dan poder de fuego.
In the meantime, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to meet President Donald Trump at the White House any moment from now. The first foreign leader to visit him in his second term at the White House. The visit comes at a critical time for the Gaza ceasefire, an initial 6-week deal halting 15 months of war between Israel and Hamas, for which Trump has claimed credit. Netanyahu faces a struggle for his political survival at home and has said the Gaza deal is temporary, that Israel has reserved the right to return to fighting. The Israeli Prime Minister on Monday met U.S. Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff, who emerged as a key mediator in the ceasefire negotiations. Now, the two leaders were close allies during Trump's first term when the U.S. president relocated the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem, a move which was condemned by the Palestinians and others. We are keeping an eye on that story, and as soon as we have the latest, we will bring it to you. Let's go now to business news, where Lekon from our business desk is standing by with the latest business news. What am I hearing about Nigeria's external savings dwindling? Why is that? What's that about?
The CBN has remained coy on this for a while now, but there are strong indications that it is still using dollars from the foreign reserves to actually defend the naira to keep it stable. But then there are other factors that I will share with you during the course of business news in a bit.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Nigeria's external reserves have decreased by approximately $1.19 billion in just over 3 weeks. Data from the Central Bank of Nigeria indicates that reserves peaked at $40.92 billion on January 6, 2025. The reserves then fell sharply to $40.56 billion on January 13, then to $39.723 billion by January 31. This decline is primarily attributed to the CBN's somewhat increased interventions in the foreign exchange market to stabilize the naira, while heightened demand for forex to finance imports and external debt repayments also exert pressure on the country's reserves. We also tell you that Fitch Ratings has affirmed Kenya's sovereign rating at B- with a stable outlook, citing strong growth prospects and improved monetary policy. However, the rating is constrained by high debt costs, weak governance, and a large informal sector that limits revenue collection. Fitch expects Kenya's fiscal deficit to widen to 4.8% of gross domestic product in 2025, exceeding government targets, while external debt and funding needs to remain high. And at the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the equities markets closed positive as the NGX All-Share Index rose by 0.15% to 104,788.35, reflecting a year-to-date return of 1.81%. Now, a total of 471.707 million shares were traded in 14,600 deals with a market value of 19.889 billion naira. Now let's look at market capitalization. It increased by 98 billion naira to 64.88 trillion naira. We'll now round up with today's sectoral performance on the NGX, which showed a mixed market sentiment. Now the consumer industrial goods sectors led the gainers right there. You can see it. Of course, it's supported by buying interest in key stocks, and the banking sector saw marginal growth or gains, indicating cautious optimism. However, insurance, recorded the biggest loss, likely due to sell-offs in selected stocks, 0.52% in losses, while the oil and gas sector remained nearly flat, reflecting limited activity. And that's it on business news. We still have more stories to come your way. Don't go away.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
The sports stories with Tunde. Tunde, what do we have?
Well, the draws for the Women's Under-19 Basketball World Cup have been made, and Nigeria will face a country from Asia, North America, and Europe in order to play in the final. We'll talk about all that and much more after this break.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Hello and welcome to sports. Nigeria's Under-19 women's basketball team now know their opponents at the FIBA Under-19 Women's World Cup in Czech Republic this July. The team will kick off their Group B schedule against last edition's bronze medalist China on the 12th of July. Following that, they will face Canada on July 13th and Portugal on the 15th of July. The tournament runs from the 12th to the 20th of July in Brno, Czechia, with 16 teams divided into 4 groups. All teams will advance to a single elimination final phase, starting with the round of 16. Defending champions, the USA, will be looking to win a record-extending 11th title.
The Nigeria Premier Football League has announced a new date for the rescheduled Matchday 20 fixture between Kwara United and Shooting Stars. The match, initially scheduled for Saturday, the 25th of January, will now be played on Wednesday, the 12th of February 2025. The encounter is set to take place at the Rashidi Yekini main bowl of the George Ini Stadium in Ilorin. Shooting Stars are in imperious form with 6 wins and 1 draw in their last 7 matches, which has fired them up to second place on the league table with 37 points. Kwara United are 10th with 29 points. The East and Central African Football Association, SECAFA, and the Southern African Football Association, COSAFA, have formed a powerful alliance ahead of the upcoming FIFA Council elections. Now, the regions are backing their own candidates, Suleiman Hassan Waberi from Djibouti for SECAFA and Andrew Kamanga from Zambia for COSAFA. Together, they represent 25 African football associations aiming to strengthen their voice in FIFA's leadership. Both candidates have been cleared by FIFA's review committee to contest for one of the 5 council positions allocated to CAF members. The election will take place during the 49th UEFA Congress in Belgrade on the 3rd of April. To Europe now, Spain's men's football team Luis de la Fuente testified in court on day 2 of the trial about the controversial kiss at the Women's World Cup. De la Fuente stated he was not involved in discussions following the kiss between Rubiales and player Jenny Hermoso at the World Cup final ceremony. He claims he only spoke with Hermoso briefly at a recent gala. Rubiales faces serious charges of sexual assault and coercion. Prosecutors allege he kissed Hermoso without consent and attempted to pressure her into supporting his version of events. The trial also involves 3 other Spanish Soccer Federation officials accused of trying to manipulate Hermoso's statement about the incident.
Hasta que no llegué a España no fui consciente un poco de la dimensión. Yo públicamente...
No le han preguntado eso. ¿Cuándo se entera del hecho, del beso?
No.
Solo que le han preguntado.
Sí. No, yo me entero del hecho en el avión, pero realmente yo no era consciente de la dimensión que tenía esa actuación.
Pero usted sí.
And that's all we have on Sports News tonight.
And it's time for some entertainment news with Sam. He's here with all the juices from the entertainment world. What do we have, Sam?
I mean, where do we start? First, Afrobeat star Victony has opened up for the first time about surgeries from his accident back in 2021. Now, most people don't know, but that puts him 11 months on the wheelchair. But that's not all. T.I. and his wife have won over $50 million in a lawsuit. This one is very interesting. I'll bring all the details in a bit.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
And now in entertainment, Nigerian singer Victony has, of course, opened up for the first time about surgery. Now, this time he's coming out to say he has a 5th surgery following his horrible car accident back in 2021, which, if you recall, left him in a coma for 4 days. For the first time, he's opened up about the physical toll and emotional burden he's experienced during his 11 months in a wheelchair. Now, for those people who remember, he filmed the popular video for Holy Father with Meyoku with that wheelchair. Now, he even addressed rumors of calling the accident a tax scheme, asking critics to get a mic and a wheelchair if they can. Remember, back in 2021, this was major news. Music giants like YBN Boss Olamide, Burna Boy, Davido, and even Rema publicly offered support. Years after, Victony would then top charts and amass millions of streams with that popular song called Soweto. This is resilience, in my opinion, because it was definitely hard for that.
That he kept filming on a wheelchair.
You know, the music
is just impressive and just brilliant.
Entertainment just keeps going. That's what it seems.
You know what they say, the show must go on, but really brilliant in
this one. T.I. and his wife, Tiny Harris, scored a big legal win against MGA Entertainment. Now, this is the company, of course, famous for the Bratz dolls. Now, this is over claims that they used the likeness of their daughter, Harris, and all the members of a pop group, OMG Girls, without permission. Now, the couple filed the lawsuit back in 2019, accusing MGA of cultural appropriation and outright theft, saying the dolls looked way too much like the pop group and the daughter, from the hairstyles to other features. Now, a California jury sided with T.I. and Tiny, of course, and the girls, and MGA has crossed the line by copying this once popular girl group. Now, they were awarded $53.6 million in punitive damages and 70.9 million in actual damages. Now, it's a major legal victory, of course, and an important precedent for protecting personal likeness, especially in the world of celebrity and family branding. Now, recall Beyonce recently won the case to trademark her daughter's name, Blue Ivy, after years, of course, to protect the rights to use the name for any business purposes. We're seeing that happen in entertainment a lot now, and I'm not surprised because I don't want anybody to use Dandy, to make
I'm
money.
actually calculating how much they're going to make with, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Over $70 million.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, for messing around with my image. Gee. But wait, they're going to pay 40% taxes, so. But
Well,
still good money.
That is good money. Well, that's much entertainment. I'm Sam Dandy.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
And that's the news tonight.